Eloise, you're muted.
There we go.
District 1, Supervisor Alejo. District 2, Supervisor Phillips.
Alternate Claudia Link for Supervisor Phillips.
Thank you. District 3, Supervisor Lopez.
Priscilla for Supervisor Lopez.
District 4, Supervisor Askew.
Yuri Anderson for Supervisor Askew.
District 5, Supervisor Adams.
Er,
City of Carmel by the Sea. City of Delray Oaks. City of Gonzales.
Here.
City of Greenfield.
Here.
City of King City.
Present.
City of Marina.
Present.
City of Monterey.
Present.
City of Pacific Grove.
Here.
City of Salinas.
Here.
City of City. City of Seaside.
Here.
City of Soledad.
Here.
Thank you. Ambag.
Here.
Caltrans District 5.
Here.
Monterey Bay Air Resource District. Monterey Regional Airport District.
Here.
Monterey Salinas Transit. City of Watsonville. CSUMB. Chair, we do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. And with that, I will ask,
I apologize. Javier here for Supervisor Alejo, third alternate.
I will ask Tim Cubbins to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance today. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Please stand. And start. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty for all.
Thank you very much, Tim.
Thank you.
Okay. And now we will go to the part of our agenda that allows the general public to speak on anything that is not on today's agenda. So if we could see if there's any member of the public who wishes to speak, please raise your hand. You can unmute yourself by pressing *6. I don't know that we have any hands raised. Eloise, do you see anyone with hand raised?
That's a negative, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. So with that, then we will close public comment and go into item number 3, which is our consent agenda. Is there any member of the board that would like to pull anything from consent this morning? I'm not, I see Mr. Muck has his hand raised.
Yes, Chair Adams, we'd like to
Yes.
pull item 3.1.5, which is the meeting schedule for next year. To note that we're moving the January Executive Committee meeting from the 4th to the 11th.
Excellent, thank you very much. It'll take us a while to get accustomed to writing 23. 22 is such an easy number to write. Okay. And is there anyone in the public who wishes to pull anything from the consent agenda? Okay, I'm seeing no one coming forward. I'm seeing no hands. So we will close the consent agenda, and I will ask if we could have a motion to approve the consent agenda absent item 3.1.5, which we will have a separate vote on.
Move approval, Craig.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Okay, could we please have a roll call vote, Eloise?
District 1 alternate Gomez.
Aye.
District 2 alternate Link.
Yes.
District 3 alternate Barba.
Yes.
District 4 alternate Anderson.
Yes.
District 5 Supervisor Adams. City of Carmel by the Sea, City of Del Rey Oaks, City of Gonzales,
Yes.
City of Greenfield,
Yes.
City of King City,
Aye.
City of Marina,
Aye.
City of Monterey,
Aye.
City of Pacific Grove,
Aye.
City of Salinas,
Aye.
City of Sand City, City of Seaside,
Aye.
City of Soledad.
Aye.
Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
No, Alejo is on, and I'm an aye, unless my staff already voted for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank- I did see you come on. Thank you.
Okay, and now I believe that we need a separate motion to approve changing the January Executive Committee from January 4th to January 11th, 2023. If I could please have a motion to approve that change. I'll move. Is there a second?
Second, Craig.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. If we could please do a roll call vote.
Okay, can I get the first motion? Who motioned?
That was me, Mary Adams.
Okay. Thank you. District 1 Supervisor Alejo,
Aye.
District 2 Alternate Link,
Yes.
District 3 Alternate Barba,
Yes.
District 4 Alternate Anderson,
Yes.
District 5 Supervisor Adams,
Aye.
City of Carmel by the Sea, City of Del Rey Oaks, City of Gonzales,
Aye.
City of Greenfield,
Yes.
City of King City,
Aye.
City of Marina,
Aye.
City of Monterey, City of Monterey,
Aye.
City of Pacific Grove,
Aye.
City of Salinas,
Aye.
City of Sand City, City of Seaside,
Aye.
City of Soledad.
Aye.
Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. With that, we will close the consent calendar and go to item number 4. And actually, Todd, if you don't mind, I think I will turn this over to you completely. And you're muted, Todd.
Thank you. Item 4 is appreciation for outgoing board members. And we have 3 board members, including Mayor Allison Kerr from Del Rey Oaks, Supervisor John Phillips, and Caltrans District Director Tim Gubbins, who is retiring this December. And we have certificates of appreciation for each of them. Supervisor Adams, would you like me to read those certificates?
Thank you.
Okay. I'll start with Mayor Allison Kerr. Whereas Allison Kerr served on the Board of Directors of the Transportation Agency for Monterey County for 4 years from January 2019 to December 2022. Whereas Board Member Kerr provided regional and local leadership for the Fort Ord Regional Trail and Greenway, the Fortag project, which is approximately 28 miles of continuous paved trail that provides safe and comfortable route for pedestrians and cyclists spanning from Del Rey Oaks to Marina, connecting the Monterey Bay Coast Trail to Fort Ord National Monument, encouraging auto-free travel to numerous destinations such as Cal State University, Monterey Bay. Whereas the first 1.5-mile segment of Fortag project will be constructed in the city of Del Rey Oaks, providing a safe and comfortable route, connecting the community to local and regional parks, Del Rey Woods Elementary School, and the city's Butterfly Garden. Board Member Kerr was instrumental in shepherding the project through the sometimes contentious community process, including leading the No on B campaign, keeping the project alive, 12-vote victory at the June 2022 elections. Now, therefore, be it declared on this 7th day of December 2022 that the Transportation Agency of Monterey County sincerely appreciates board member Allison Kerr's 4 years of leadership to improve regional transportation throughout Monterey County.
Thank you, Todd. And I am sorry that Allison is not on with us today to accept this award. I think Todd mentioned that this is the last meeting for all three of our retiring trustees. So I'm awfully sorry she isn't here to receive our thanks, but I'm sure we will be able to get the certificate of appreciation to her. So Todd, if you don't mind continuing on, and the next one I believe that we have is Tim Gubbins.
All right. Tim Gubbins, who is Caltrans District 5 Director. He's worked for the California Department of Transportation for more than 34 years in a variety of engineering and management positions. Whereas Mr. Gubbins served as Director of Caltrans District 5, covering Monterey, Santa Cruz, San Benito, San Luis Obispo, and Santa Barbara counties for the past 10 years. Whereas Mr. Gubbins serving as District Director and Deputy District Director for Program Project Management, provided leadership and creative problem solving to help deliver numerous improvements to the state highway system in Monterey County, including maintaining access to the Big Sur Coast, projects such as the US 101 Prunedale Improvement Program, the US 101 San Juan Road Interchange, State Route 1 Salinas Road Interchange, State Route 1 Pfeiffer Creek Emergency Bridge Replacement, and the State Route 1 Mud Creek Landslide Project. Now therefore be it declared on the 7th day of December, 2022, that we congratulate Tim Gubbins on his retirement from Caltrans and give our sincere appreciation for his work contributing to regional transportation in Monterey County.
Thank you, Todd. And I'll ask our other colleagues if they wish to comment, and Tim as well. But before we do, I want to offer my sincere gratitude to Tim for all of the work that he has done on Highway 1. From the day that I was elected, it seems like we have been down Highway 1, either fixing a road or getting rid of a mudslide, or, you know, taking a helicopter down to make sure people had food. It was always a wonderful feeling of security, Tim, to know that you were there and that I could call you on your cell phone, which I promised never to do inappropriately, and that be able to know that you were right there by my side, taking care of things. And to this day, I'm just amazed at what we were able to do at Pfeiffer Bridge. And then after that, at the big mess that we had at, I guess it was Mud Creek, when we reopened the road in 84 days. It was really spectacular, and it was your leadership that made all of those things possible. So thank you so very, very much from District 5 and all its residents and all of the people that drive through on Highway 1. Would any other member like to speak to this award? And if not, we'll let Tim say a few remarks as we watch him sail off into the sunset.
All right. Thank you, Chair. And yes, it's been a pleasure. It's been a long career for Caltrans, 3.5 decades. So I think that's enough. And 10 years as the director and member of this board. And yes, it's nice that we can plan and do some large projects like we did in Prunedale, as well as have the ability to address those unplanned things that come up. So I'm going to miss a lot of this excitement, but it's time to move to the next stage. So thank you all for your support over the years.
Thank you so much, Tim. Okay, are we going to do one more?
One more for Supervisor John Phillips.
Thank you.
Representing County of Monterey District 2 on the Transportation Agency Board, whereas John Phillips has served on the Board of Directors of the Transportation Agency for Monterey County for 8 years, from January 2015 through December 2022. And whereas he served as the co-chair for the Measure X campaign committee, successfully leading the community effort that resulted in Monterey County voters approving Measure X in 2016, estimating to generate over $600 million locally and leveraging millions more of state and federal dollars over its 30-year life to implement local transportation priority projects. And whereas Board Member Phillips supporting the inclusion of State Route 156 Castroville Boulevard interchange project in the Transportation Safety Investment Plan, which will be one of the first regional Measure X road projects to start construction. And whereas he served as the Transportation Agency Chair in 2018, during which time the Pajaro to Prunedale Corridor Study developed a set of road modifications recommending to accommodate current and future concerns about walking, biking, safety, and congestion along the G12 corridor, which serves the downtowns of the communities as the downtown of the communities of Pajaro, Las Lomas, and Prunedale, and acts as a regional commute corridor between Santa Cruz and Monterey counties. Now therefore be declared on this 7th day of December 2022 that the Transportation Agency for Monterey County sincerely appreciates Board Member and past Chair John Phillips' 8 years of dedicated work to improve regional transportation throughout Monterey County.
Thank you, Todd. And is there anyone who wishes to comment on this?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes.
I know this is the beginning of several meetings honoring the work and legacy of Supervisor Phillips. But as his colleague for the last 6 years, I just wanted to start today. I know at our next meeting, our last meeting of the year for the Board of Supervisors, we will do a formal despedida or going away for Supervisor Phillips. But I wanted to really thank him for tremendous work just on transportation and really being a fierce advocate for road and highway improvements in North County, always speaking up to try to address some of the major areas in our county that had really some significant highway challenges. And that was building upon the work of his predecessor, Lou Calcagno, all along the 101 corridor from Salinas to up to, I think, the 156. So I really want to thank him. And I know he really pushed hard to do the highway improvements on the 156 from Prunedale to Castroville. Some of that has moved, pieces of work that's going to take place there. I know he wanted a lot more to happen there, but overall, I think Supervisor Phillips has just been a very effective champion and advocate for the people of North County, a collaborator, somebody who brought a lot of people together. He had a lot of contacts, a lot of friends over the lifetime of his work as a prosecutor, as a judge, and now as county supervisor. And I just wanted to really express my respect and my support. He's certainly going to be missed on the Board of Supervisors. And I know I and my other colleagues really appreciated working closely with him on specifically on transportation on this committee, but on this agency, but many other work on policy and improving the quality of life for Monterey County residents. So thank you, Supervisor Phillips. I'm glad I was the first to initiate this celebration of your work, and you will be missed on TAMC and on the Board of Supervisors. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Alejo. Mayor LaBarre, and then Mayor Craig.
Thank you, Chair. Supervisor Phillips, I just want to concur with what Supervisor Alejo said. It has been a pleasure working with you. I've always appreciated your perspective and your dedication to the people you represent. It has been a role model for myself, and sorry to see you go. Tim, I want to congratulate you. It has been great working with you, and same with Mayor Kerr. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mayor LaBarre. Mayor Craig.
Just an acknowledgement of Supervisor Phillips as well. You know, one of the things when I was a councilwoman for North Salinas, John's district overlapped at the county level with my district. And to be working as a supervisor with individual council members really says a lot about just the kind of class of a politician. I remember one night in 2017 where Russell Road was flooding and County Public Works couldn't get out there. And so I got a late night phone call from John asking for assistance with the flooding of Russell Road with our Public Works Department. And so just that level of collaboration between the city and the city of Salinas and the County of Monterey, I think is just so incredibly important. And the partnerships between the cities and their respective supervisors is what gets things done for our region. So I just want to acknowledge John. He's been a phenomenal advocate for North Salinas and North County, and just really grateful for the partnership through not just transportation. And I know that's what the topic at hand, obviously with TAMC, but with homelessness, with affordable housing, all of those issues that we have dealt with collaboratively. I'm very grateful for his service. And Tim, I'm going to need the direct line of your successor from Caltrans District 5. I have been very appreciative of your responsiveness to our issues, particularly homelessness on 101, and continue that work. But I very much appreciate your responsiveness and your can-do attitude with the issues that we are partnering with Caltrans on. So thank you for that. Mayor Kerr, I've learned so much about Delray Oaks, and certainly know and understand the issues that you guys have been dealing with over there, and appreciate your friendship over the last few years as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Craig. And now we have Ed Smith, whose hand is up.
Oh, thank you, Chair. First off, I want to say thank you, Tim. I'm looking at your picture, and you're too young to retire. So I know you have aged well. You look great, and best of luck for whatever you choose to go into now. I know you're going to relax a little bit, and then you're going to find something that's great for you and your family. So kudos to you for your great career, and thank you for all the support you brought to Monterey County for through your service with Caltrans. Appreciate it. A send off to Allison Kerr as well, neighboring Delray Oaks, just next to Monterey, and appreciate all of her efforts, her extraordinary lift and extra efforts for FORTAG, and as you know, that means a lot to us, and I think it's going to mean a lot for Delray Oaks as well, and she served the city well, and we look forward to continuing partnership with the city of Delray Oaks. And to focus to John, our friend, my friend. I first met John when I was a young police officer working for Seaside, and he was an extraordinary prosecutor for one of my first cases. And then as his career advanced, moving to the judgeship, always enjoyed going into his courtroom because of his decorum, his professionalism, his knowledge, just so much that he brought to the business of criminal justice and due process. And then serving on TAMC, he was elected in the same year that I was. And so our paths crossed. It was great to work with him, and many efforts once we were both on our respective positions and working in TAMC, and his extraordinary work for North County. And he always had a bearing or a compass, if you will, to never forget what his charge was, what his purpose in life was, and his great work for the entire county of Monterey, but especially his neighbors in North County. So always appreciated his ability to focus to the heart of the matter, to get down to figuring out what the best thing was to decide on, to move on. And his work with the transportation countywide has been extraordinary. He'll be missed, but we know he's going to be around. He's still going to have lots of other things to do. And we'll probably run into him more than we think, because I know he enjoys being out in his Monterey County. So kudos to Judge Phillips for his service in so many different ways. It's helped support the city of Monterey and the entire county. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ed. And now I will go to Claudia.
Hi, good morning. Supervisor Phillips is not on the Zoom call, but I'm happy to accept this award on his behalf. I know he really enjoyed his time serving with each and every one of you on this committee. He's proud of what he was able to accomplish during his terms. I will be sure to pass on all of your kind words and comments to the supervisor.
Thank you so much for that, Claudia. Thank you. Okay, any other comments? Thank you. Then we will close item number 4 and move on to item number 5, which is our Salinas Safe Routes to School plan. And I think Ariana Groom will be doing the presentation on this one.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Chair and members of the board. I'm Ariana Green, Principal Transportation Planner and Safe Routes to School Program Manager. And I'm just going to share my screen. I've got a presentation. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Great. All right. So in October, we brought the draft Salinas Safe Routes to School plan to the board, but it was on the consent agenda. And this plan is a huge effort. And so I think we felt it deserved some recognition. And also today I've got the opportunity to share some strategies that we learned and used through this planning process to fast track getting grant funding and implementing safety improvements in Salinas. So the official staff recommended action today is to receive the presentation on the Salinas Safe Routes to School plan and adopt resolution 2022-14, which adopts the Salinas Safe Routes to School plan and also states that the environmental review for the recommendations within the plan are satisfied through the 2045 Metropolitan Transportation Plan Sustainable Community Strategy Program Level EAR. That's a mouthful. So today I've got a brief presentation. I'm going to give you an overview with highlights from the planning process and best practices, and then also share again some strategies to fast track getting grant funding for safety projects. The Safe Routes to School plan covers 45 schools in Salinas. It was a huge effort. We started this planning effort. We kicked it off publicly in the beginning of 2020. Then COVID hit and all the schools shut down. So we've had a few curveballs throughout this process, but we have a great team. We've been working with the city of Salinas, of course, the Monterey County Health Department, all 4 of the school districts in Salinas, and Ecology Action, which is a local nonprofit organization that we partner a lot with our Safe Routes to School work. And then we were able to develop this plan with funding through a Caltrans Sustainable Transportation Plan grant and Measure X funding. The plan has some high-level goals that are consistent with our Measure X funded Safe Routes to School plan. So we want to encourage the majority of children to arrive at school by means other than just being driven alone. And this will help reduce traffic and improve safety around all the schools in Salinas. We also want to, there's a Vision Zero policy that the city has recently adopted. And so we have a goal that we shoot for having 0 collisions involving bikes and pedestrians that result in injury and death in line with the city's policy. We want all children in Salinas to have received traffic safety education while they're in school so that they all understand how to get around the city by foot or by wheel. And we think ultimately this will make for better drivers in the future too. We want to also recognize that we need the entire community to support our Safe Routes to School projects and programs. So we have a goal to engage the greater community, to really bring folks in to create safer environments around the schools. And then last but not least, we want to make sure that all the work that we do, all the Safe Routes to School programming moving forward and implementing the plan is done equitably and really with a focus on the most transportation disadvantaged populations in the city. We, as I mentioned before, we kicked this plan off right before COVID hit. So we had a little bit of time where we were sort of struggling and figuring out what to do and how to reach people with all the schools closed and everybody sheltering in place. But we got creative and we turned to surveys, and we even developed a traffic safety scavenger hunt to engage the kids and keep parents sane during the pandemic. And we we ultimately, there was sort of a silver lining that came out of the pandemic, which was that all of the parent teacher association meetings, all the school meetings, once they went virtual, they were much better attended by parents. So we ended up reaching an even bigger audience than we would have just going and attending in-person meetings. And we were also able to attend a lot more meetings because we saved time and money by not having to travel there in person. And then one of the most effective outreach strategies that we used was that we actually physically demonstrated some alternative street design, some safety improvements on the street for a period of a month. So we did one on East Alisal Street, and we put in a protected bike lane, as you see here. And then the most important part of this strategy is collecting data and collecting the public's opinion on this type of design. And so we actually worked with a group of CSUMB students to do bike and ped counts. And then we had a survey that went out to the businesses and the neighborhood and the school community to find out if folks wanted to see the improvements made permanent. And you can see the results on the right-hand side of the screen here, that the majority of people did like the improvements. The other benefit to doing these temporary demonstrations is that the engineers get a lot of good, valuable insights on how these designs work in reality and how they operate. And so it's easier to see, oh, this doesn't work here. Or this design needs to be tweaked a little bit here. So there's a lot of really good information that results in better design and better projects. And then, so we did our second demonstration on McKinnon Street, and we talked about this a little bit before. We had a group of high school students do these wonderful artistic troughs that provided a barrier between the bikes and the travel lane. And thank you, Supervisor Adams, for visiting the class and recognizing those students. It sounded like that meant a lot to them and their teachers. And another benefit of doing these temporary demonstrations and getting all that data is that we can use all that data in grant applications. And so for this particular project, the city decided they wanted to move forward and apply for this most recent round of ATP applications, grant applications. And CTC staff has recommended that this project be funded. And so we're going to find out later today if the commission approves the staff recommendations. But it's very exciting to see a project go from a temporary demonstration and in a plan to getting $8 million in funding. So that's really excited about that. Fingers crossed that the city gets the money. This slide shows just some of the common infrastructure recommendations in the plan. And I wanted to share that the TAMC Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee, one of their main comments was that they feel like for safe routes to school improvements in particular, they'd like to see more separation and physical separation between bicyclists and pedestrians, especially young ones, and vehicles. So whenever possible, having more of those improvements in the city. And we have quite a few separated bikeways, which is the picture shown in the bottom right-hand corner. But yeah, lots of curb extensions, lots of raised crosswalks, making pedestrians more visible and slowing vehicles down is kind of the key to a lot of these infrastructure recommendations. And then this, I just wanted to share this as an example. Don't try and read the tiny text, but we developed school site specific recommendations for each of the 45 schools. And we did that because it's such a big plan. We wanted to make it a little bit easier for each school community to really be able to focus in on the improvements that are most important to them, and also for the schools to do the same. So we created these profiles for each school and specific recommendations around each school site. And then we also had citywide recommendations and bigger projects. like the McKinnon Street and like East Alisal. And we prioritize those projects based on this criteria. So the most points are given to projects that improve safety, followed by projects that are focus on equity and really serving the most transportation disadvantaged folks, people who maybe don't have access to cars and really need to have safer ways to get around by bike or walking. And then we also put a lot of emphasis on community identified need. So projects that were specifically called out by members of the community through our outreach process received more points. And that's so that we really wanted to make sure that this plan is a representation of what the community wants, not just what planners and engineers want. So so that's how one way that we tried to make sure that the priorities reflected the community's needs and wants. And then we also, this plan is designed to be implemented. I mean, as I mentioned, we already have potential grant funding to implement this, but one of the things that I wanted to highlight to this whole board that the city is doing now that I think is amazing and makes a lot of sense is that they, through their Vision Zero policy and their implementation, the city of Salinas has designed this program called the Vision Zero Integrated into Maintenance Program. And what that does is they recognize that there's a lot of safety improvements that can be done with just paint and reallocating space on the roadway whenever they're doing regular maintenance. So whenever they're resurfacing, you take off the paint lines, that's a blank canvas, and it's an opportunity to reallocate space for bicyclists and pedestrians and create buffers for bicyclists and pedestrians and create high visibility crossings and implement a lot of the things that we have in the Safe Routes to School plan. And that's through that program, they are using funding they already have. They're not waiting to get grants. And so that really fast tracks safety project implementation. So I think that what they're doing is amazing. I wanted to call that out and also call out Andrew Easterling, who's the city traffic engineer, who's been very proactive and a big champion of Vision Zero. And he worked very closely with us throughout this whole planning process and was very involved. And I'm just very appreciative of him and the work he's doing with the city. All right, and that concludes my presentation. Again, the action today is to receive the presentation and then adopt Resolution 2022-14, adopting the plan. And at this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you so much, Ariana. I really enjoyed the opportunity on behalf of the chair of TAMC to go over to the Safe Routes to School project in North Salinas High and present the awards to Ms. Gaston and Ms. Clamson. It was a really enjoyable day, and I really liked the opportunity to speak to the students about the project and their engagement. So I see Mayor Craig has her hand raised, and then Councilmember Kimberly.
Thank you. I just want to acknowledge the program and the partnership with TAMC. Certainly Safe Routes to Schools is a critical element for the safety of our children. I would just point out two things. One is, as we implement these programs, I think outreach is going to be really important. I know the council members who represent areas of East Alisal, I mean, for lack of a better term, all holy hell broke loose when we were, narrowing the streets for bike lanes and whatnot on East Alisal. But I think with that general community understanding that, hey, this is to slow down traffic and to help the children be able to successfully navigate our streets, there's a better understanding within the community. So as we implement these Safe Routes to Schools plan, that's also a critical element. And it's incumbent upon not only, TAMC staff, but also the representatives in our respective communities, myself included, to make sure that our fellow council members know. So when those plans are implemented, that people have a general understanding of what we're doing. We're not just tearing up the street and painting different lines on it. The other one little caveat I'll acknowledge is Salinas High School is on Main Street, and teenagers tend to be a little more adept at darting out into traffic than, say, a third or a fourth grader. But it is very impactful in our community when school gets in and school gets out. That is one of our main arteries, and I've seen a lot of just a lot of pedestrian activity there that I would caution probably we need to look at in the future. But with that, I'm happy to make a motion to adopt the resolution 2022-14 Salinas Safe Routes to Schools plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'll now go to, and we'll take your motion at the appropriate time. And now we'll go to Councilmember Patori.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Ariana. Thank you, Ariana, for bringing this in and sharing what you've done. I just did a recent exercise in Pacific Grove, and I know the amount of effort that it takes to just bring people together and the community outreach. So thank you for sharing some of these points. I was wondering, this deck itself, would you be able to share this with the board? Unless I missed it, I think it'll be useful for not only our community, but other communities as well, as to what are the pitfalls, what are the best practices that you had gone through to get here. And then I just had a general question, and maybe I already know the answer, but how about the Vision Zero policy? How effective was it in the grand scheme of things? Was that instrumental in pushing the needle and getting the funds through CTC, et cetera? Can you just briefly comment?
Yeah, I think having a Vision Zero policy will definitely give you an edge for more funding, grant funding sources. So
okay, and what about the community outreach aspect? Do they understand the Vision Zero policy?
Yeah, I think everybody, especially when it comes to safe routes to school, everybody understands and is easy to get them behind the Vision Zero.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. And I look forward to the deck. Thanks.
Thank you. Mayor LaBarre.
Thank you, Chair. And I will second Kimberly's motion. Ariana, I really appreciate yours and your staff's work on safe routes to school. Extremely important. One thing, given the pandemic, I don't know how we can incorporate this, but it does seem things like the walking school bus would also elicit mental health advantages, right? Having kids be together when they were separated for so long. So I would just encourage you, if you think there is an avenue where that would be applicable, to reach out, like the county health department or behavioral health, and see if they could provide some kind of data that would show that these interactions are more beneficial as well. And then lastly, you hear this all the time, but I absolutely do believe it's important that the Safe Route to School grant program includes cameras for cities that already have a citywide camera system in place, those cameras that would be used on those safe routes. So thank you again, Ariana, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, thank you. So are there any other comments on this item? Is there any member of the public who wishes to comment on this item? I am seeing no hands raised. So with that, we have a motion and a second. If we could please have a roll call vote.
District 1, Supervisor Alejo.
Aye.
District 2, alternate Link.
Yes.
District 3, alternate Barba.
Yes.
District 4, alternate Anderson.
Yes.
District 5, Supervisor Adams.
Aye.
City of Carmel by the Sea.
Aye.
Gray Oaks, City of Gonzales,
Aye.
City of Greenfield,
Aye.
City of King City,
Aye.
City of Marina,
Aye.
City of Monterey,
Aye.
City of Pacific Grove,
Aye.
City of Salinas,
Aye.
City of San City, City of Seaside,
Aye.
City of Soledad.
Aye.
Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
Chair Adams, you're muted.
Thank you very much. It doesn't matter much. You can't hear me much anyway, but thank you. So at any rate, we close that item. We're going now to item 6, which is an update on changes to the Brown Act and the implications for our meetings in 2023. And we have with us today our county counsel, Robert Breyer, who will walk us through this. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Adams. Yes, Robert Breyer, Deputy County Counsel for the County of Monterey and TAMC Council. I'm going to try to share my screen here so we can get this presentation started. Oops, hold on a second, sorry. There we go. Okay. All right. Thanks. So, as you all know, there have been a lot of changes to the Brown Act in the last few years related to teleconferencing as a result of the pandemic. I'm here to present to you some of those changes, and most recently, AB 2449, which will significantly change the way that this board and lots of other entities in California do teleconferencing. But to do that, I want to take you through first all of the options. So, to set it up, AB 361 does authorize teleconferencing until the end of 2023, but only with a state declared state of emergency. As you know, the governor has announced that the current COVID emergency will end at the end of February. In theory, there could be another state emergency, but even if there were, AB 361 again expires at the end of next year, so it's on the way out. So the question is, what happens after February 23, or before then, as you guys are going to try to get ahead of it? Well, there are 3 options for teleconferencing under the Brown Act. The traditional option, which is one that I don't think many people were aware of, the Brown Act already had a way to teleconference, and it's still available, and we'll look at it, but it did have a major catch with public access that we'll go through. AB 361, again, as we talked about, expires at the end of the year. And AB 2449 will be the new normal, most likely. Unfortunately, it contains some pretty onerous restrictions on teleconferencing, which I'm going to go through today. So the traditional Brown Act does allow teleconferencing, and there's far less restrictions than under either AB 361 or the new 2449. There's no requirement of findings. There's no limit on the frequency a member can use it, can teleconference, excuse me. There's no in-person quorum requirement, though there is still a quorum requirement in the jurisdiction. And there is no requirement to cease activity if the broadcast is interrupted due to an internet service outage. But, and this is the big catch, any place that a member is teleconferencing from must be open to the public for public comment, have a posted agenda, and that agenda must list that location as an accessible teleconference location. So doing it in your house is not really a great option under the traditional Brown Act, because obviously, unless you want the public in there, it can be sticky. So that is one reason why I believe AB 361 was adopted. As you know, findings are required, state declared state of emergency, and public teleconference access is required. So if the board gets it, so does the public. There's no requirement, however, that a quorum be present in this jurisdiction. And there is no requirement, most critically, that the public have access to each teleconferencing location physically. But as I mentioned earlier, this option will go away at the end of this coming year. So that brings us to our current situation, which, like AB 361, does not require public access to each teleconferencing location, but it does have a lot of requirements that are complicated and I would say onerous. For one thing, each time a member teleconferences, they would have to make one of two factual justifications to do so, either just cause or emergency circumstances. And I'm going to go through those in more detail in the coming slides. There are also numerical limitations on each member's teleconferencing, a requirement that a quorum be physically present at a single publicly accessible location in the jurisdiction, very tricky for bodies such as this one. And there also has to be a two-way visual presentation available to the public, either through a medium like Zoom or a webcast and audio call-in number, allowing the public to both watch and participate in real time. This is all assuming that you elect to use this teleconferencing option. So I mentioned just cause, one of the two justifications for teleconferencing that would have to be made under AB 2449. The law is very specific. It only gives three grounds for just cause. One is a child care or caregiving need of basically an immediate family member or a grandparent, grandchild, or partner. A contagious illness, which prevents a member from appearing in person. A physical or mental disability, or travel on official business of either the TAMC board or another state or local agency. So if you're at a conference, you can teleconference with just cause. However, this clause requires the board member to notify the board as soon as possible, but no later than the start of a regular meeting, of their intention to teleconference with this justification. The member must also provide a general description of the circumstances supporting the claim and essentially the statutory ground for it. There's no vote necessary to approve it. So with that, we have just cause. The other option is, quote, emergency circumstances, which is even more limited. That is strictly defined as a physical or family medical emergency preventing personal attendance. Now, to use this justification, the member must request approval of the board and provide a 20-word general description of the cause. They shouldn't disclose any personal medical information, of course, but just enough to let them know that it does qualify as emergency circumstances. The board will have to vote on to approve this request, and it can still do it even if the 20-word description is provided at the beginning of the meeting, but it is best to provide it prior to that time. And again, a majority of the board must approve any such request. Unfortunately, these are not the only restrictions. To use either just cause or emergency circumstances, there are numerical limitations. There is a direct one for just cause. That can only be used twice a calendar year. And while there is no technical individual limit to use individual emergency circumstances, the legislature has limited member teleconferencing in total to no more than 3 consecutive months and no more than 20% of the regular meetings in a calendar year, or 2 meetings if the body meets fewer than 10 times per calendar year. Now, the consecutive months issue is not relevant to TAMC because the board does not meet in November, but it's something to be aware of for other boards. As a practical matter, because TAMC meets 10 times a year, you don't have to worry so much about the 20%. It's a 2 time per calendar year limit, regardless of whether you use just cause or emergency circumstances or some combination thereof. So staff will need to track each member's teleconferencing, but fortunately will not have to do some of the more complicated tracking required for bodies with 12-month calendars. Additionally, as I mentioned earlier, there needs to be a quorum physically present at a single physical location that's identified on the agenda that is open to the public. Additionally, during teleconferencing, each member must be on camera with audio on, at least during each vote. The law is very unclear on this. The most conservative and probably best route is to be at least on camera the entire time, but it is still defensible to appear just for the votes. And I think that regardless of the language, mute is certainly appropriate and defensible when you're on camera so as not to cause an issue. The members also have to disclose whether anyone over 18 is present at the remote location, and if they are, their relationship to the member. Further, if teleconferencing is used, the agency must provide that two-way audiovisual platform like Zoom or telephone service and a live webcast of the meeting and agendize the information for the public to access these services. And unlike with AB 361, an interruption to connectivity to access the broadcast. So if the TAMC broadcast goes down, this doesn't apply if like one member of the public's broadcast goes down, the meeting would have to stop until the disruption is resolved. In theory, that it could also include a bigger internet outage that would affect a larger area of the public. So to sum up, there is still teleconferencing after AB 361, but both of the remaining options, the traditional Brown Act and this new 2449 option, have significant downsides. As I mentioned, traditional Brown Act teleconferencing has the requirement that a member have a publicly accessible teleconferencing location, and AB 2449 has numerical limitations on accessing teleconferencing, and even then under very limited circumstances, as well as requiring an in-person quorum in the jurisdiction, which is particularly difficult for a body such as TAMC, given the geographic sprawl that its members represent. So with that quick summary, I'm ready to take any questions you may have on this. I know there probably are many.
Thank you, Robert. I will ask people to please raise their hand if you wish to ask a question on this item. And you can raise your hand by going into the reactions. Okay, Luis?
I think Chaps is
Oh, sorry.
his hand
Thank you.
before me, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Luis. Chaps.
That's fine, but thank you. Just quickly, I know this is, it's really complicated. When I read even the 2 pages, it was, had a lot of questions there, but just from a public, I just have one question here for now. From a public standpoint though, if everybody is present in a room physically from a board perspective, from the TAMC board perspective, do we still need to provide teleconference options with the two-way options to the public?
No, it's sort of a, if the board gets it, the public gets it kind of arrangement. Those options are triggered by the board offering teleconferencing under 2449.
So just to make it clear for me, as an example, if we meet in the Salinas office next month, say on March 1st, and then all of us are in the room, then we don't have to provide teleconference options?
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Alejo?
Yeah, I think my question is just in terms of, in practical terms, how will this work? And in order to like invoke the ability to use teleconferencing after the emergency of declaration. So I know we can only use a certain amount of time for certain purposes, as was just outlined. But does there have to be notice in advance? So for example, if we have a scheduled meeting and I wake up ill and I don't want to go into a meeting room to not get everyone else sick, and if I join on Zoom, does the board then have to vote to authorize me joining via Zoom for whatever stated reasons that I have? Or can I just join Zoom? And what has to be put on record to make sure that that is recorded and it's properly authorized?
Well, thank you. It depends on the option used. So just cause does not require a vote, and that would include in the example you gave contagious illness, but it does require that you notify the board as soon as possible, but no later than the start of the meeting, and provide some circumstances. So, if you woke up sick, you could let the board know that you'd have to teleconference that morning or even at the start of the meeting, and explain why there'd be no vote necessary for that. On the other hand, the emergency circumstances justification, which would not be present here, but might come up if you have like a physical or family medical emergency that comes up that morning, for example, similar to your hypothetical, that's a little trickier, but you still have until the beginning of the meeting to make the request. In that case, the board would have to vote to approve the request, but either way, it would have to be brought to the board's attention in time to be put on the record at the meeting and voted on in the case of emergency circumstances.
Okay, got it. So there's a distinction, clear distinction in those those emergency circumstances where there is a formal vote to authorize that. All right. It seems to get more complicated, but it was decided for us in Sacramento, and now we have to live with it and see how it works in real life here next year. Thank you.
You.
I just wanted to add in Supervisor Alejo's example, we will still need to have a quorum at the location live and in person when we have the meeting. So this is an area administratively that we're going to have to really work on making sure that board members that want to remotely access the meeting do so as appropriate, but also that we maintain a quorum. So maybe in the example of a board member being sick, it's a good time to invite their alternate to attend the meeting and make sure we have a live in quorum. Thanks.
Mayor Craig.
Thank you. I just need some clarification on audience or general public participation on this. So if we are all present and accounted for in one location physically, are there any limitations, or if we choose to use Zoom or teleconferencing for public comment or anything along those lines, where does that fall within these guidelines, or does it?
Yeah, this is really, I don't think it really does. This is really limited to restricting to restrictions on board members and the concomitant what the public gets in that situation, so that the public maintains as much access as possible. If the board wished to provide teleconferencing to the public, I don't think these laws really address that. I mean, you'd be under the normal Brown Act restrictions as far as availability of public comment goes, and you'd want to put it on the agenda like you have been, like agencies have been doing throughout COVID.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Craig. Are there any other questions?
Madam Chair, oh, sorry. I just want to follow up to Mayor Craig's question. I guess at some point, us as a TAMC board just have to make a decision whether we're going to keep allowing the Zoom option to continue, just as a general matter. I certainly support it. I think there's many benefits for public participation, but also if we just have this available at each meeting, then when we do have those emergency situations where we want to invoke this new law that was just explained, we would need to have that in place already for us to benefit from that ability to have board members continue to Zoom in. I mean, Zoom is what we've been using, but there's other options as well. But I think at some point we just have to make a formal decision whether we continue to utilize and incorporate this technology on all meetings moving forward.
Thank you. Yes, now we have Heather Adams.
Good morning. I just have a quick question. How will TAMC be handling this for ex officio board members since they are not counted as quorum?
Good question.
I think ex officio members have more flexibility in their method of attendance, and it really depends on whether we have a Zoom or hybrid link available, which we do intend to maintain.
Thanks, Todd. Doing research for AMBAG's upcoming process as well.
Yes, it's going to be nice that we all will have the same information. And I think that's going to be important for us as we just continue to move forward. Oh, sorry. Any other questions from board members or comments? I'm seeing none. And is there any member of the public who wishes to comment on this item? And seeing none, thank you, though. So we will I don't need we need to have a motion on this. We're simply receiving the update. Thank you very much, Robert. It was important for us to have this. So we have heard from the board and the public is silent. So we will close that item and move on to item number 7, which is to receive the reports from our transportation providers. And the first one is the Caltrans Director's Report and the project updates. And I don't see Scott, but I do see Tim. I don't know if there's an
Yep.
actual report or not.
Yes, thank you. This is Tim Govins, Caltrans. And I do have the project update list in your agenda packet, so thanks for that. And also I just wanted to follow up with some safety announcements, kind of going along with some earlier items we've heard at this meeting. First, as we've talked about Big Sur and things that happen out there, I just wanted to remind everyone in the public and the board that with these winter months happening and with weather happening, please slow down, encourage others to slow down, be cautious. There's other drivers, there's weather conditions, there's also often unknown things on the road as you're going around corners. We've experienced that just this weekend already on Big Sur. We had a lot of rockfall and had to close the road, but we're out there just as soon as it's safe to be out there to clean that up. Another safety announcement, kind of following along with the safe routes to school. Federal Highways has announced a new national roadway safety strategy in late October, and that will require each state to complete a vulnerable road user safety assessment. And so again, I think we all know the vulnerable users of our facilities are those that are not necessarily in vehicles, those on bike or foot. And we're really focusing on how do we incorporate those for this multimodal system that we all are striving for. And the US DOT has also adopted a safe systems approach, which is very similar to the zero deaths that we're looking for. And it changes some of the ways we think about roadway safety. And Caltrans has also adopted that approach. So the principles of safe system approach are really just acknowledging things that have happened. So it's not just, engineer the roadway and hope everything works. It's recognizing humans make mistakes and that humans are vulnerable. And the responsibility for crashes and things are shared. It's us as the roadway owners, but it's also vehicle manufacturers, the researchers, the roadway users, among many others. And so there's a focus on trying to get proactive safety happening and get redundancy where we can. We need redundancy just to get everyone safely where they're going. And related to that, Caltrans has really been coordinating with our partners at CHP on some highway safety campaigns. There's an impaired driving campaign, just because in 2020 we had again raise in rates. We're having a drowsy driving campaign, as well as distracted driving and speeding and aggressive driving. But each of these efforts is going to be have a public information component, including messages on some of our changeable message signs that you may have seen recently, as well as increased enforcement. And all of these are coming possible through funds through the Office of Traffic Safety. So with that, as I said, there is the normal project update list in your packet, and I'd be happy to answer any questions, but that's all I have today.
Thank you so much, Tim. Are there any questions for Tim on his report today? I'm not seeing any hands going up. Okay, well, we'll take your report with a great deal of thanks for your years of dedication.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. And now we will go to Sable with the Monterey Peninsula Airport.
Thank you, Chair Adams. I appreciate the opportunity to speak for this other mode of transportation out here. We're continuing at the airport to increase our users from the compared to before the pandemic. And we're very proud of that. And part of that is due to increased awareness of our local residents in using the airport. Number two, we're providing more seats. And so we're very pleased with that. And I might let everybody know that's watching that we have an extremely low cancellation percentage out of Monterey. I think we had like 2% cancellations out of Monterey, and only maybe like a 5% delay factor. And most of our delays come from the larger airports like Dallas, Fort Worth, and Los Angeles. Their arrivals are delayed because their origins out of Dallas, Fort Worth, and out of Los Angeles, out of San Francisco are delayed. So when you use the airport, you have a pretty good chance of getting out on time as long as the airplane gets there. And so I wanted to also share, I've been monitoring the airfares an awful lot, and the airfares are ridiculously high right now. But I noticed that near the end of January and well into February, fares are dropping rather dramatically. And so less than half the price of what the fares are today. So you might bear that in mind if you're traveling. Schedule ahead of time, but try to do it at the end of January and on into February. And I wanted to announce that the airport is in cooperation with the DoD is providing a military lounge at the airport starting at 4 o'clock in the morning until the last flight at night. And this is for active duty military personnel. There'll be snacks and meals, snacks there, and also they can purchase a $10 meal from Woody's, our airport restaurant. And if anybody wants to make a donation, they can do that through Woody's at the airport online. And we're being supported on the snacks by Sunridge Farms, Taylor Farms, United Service Organizations, Del Monte Aviation. A whole bunch of folks are providing their contributions for meals for our military personnel, and we're very proud of that. And it's as a former military member, I always appreciated those activities. And this is not a USO thing; it's just the airport and our local community doing it. And finally, we were able to secure a $2.5 million grant from the FAA under the Infrastructure Act. And so we're using that money to place some new hangars on the airport. So anyhow, continue to fly in Monterey, and I'll answer any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Are there any questions for Mr. Sabo? I'm seeing no hands raised, so we will thank you for your comment. And we'll move forward to the Monterey Salinas Transit. If there's anyone from Monterey
I don't think we have anyone from MST on today.
Okay, and how about Monterey Bay Air Resources?
Same.
Okay, great. Okay, with that, we will close our transportation providers reports. I will look at item number 8, which is a request to see if anyone needs to report on meetings attended by board members at TAMC expense, which is required by state law.
I'm not aware of any activity that needs to be reported.
Okay, great, good. Okay, with that, we will go on to item number 10, which are announcements or comments from TAMC members on matters that they wish to put on future TAMC.
Could we step back just 1 second to item?
Oh, I
9?
pressed that better. Maybe we ought to have the executive director.
I'll be quick though.
Great idea. Thank you. So sorry, Todd. Thank
Thanks.
you. I'm glad you caught me right away.
I just wanted to announce that we were successful in we confirmed from Federal Highway Administration that we received a $7 million grant from the Federal Lands Access Program for the second segment of the Forteg Trail. And this is something that we had gotten an initial short notice that we were programmed for it, but this is confirmation that we've actually received the grant. So we're really excited that we're leveraging Measure X funds and going to be able to build another segment. And the adjacent segment that continues the trail into Marina is on the staff recommendations for this afternoon for the active transportation program. So I think Tim is actually zooming in from Riverside, where the Transportation Commission is meeting today, and we'll be looking forward to their final decision on staff recommendations.
Congratulations, Todd.
We're excited. We are working on securing a meeting room for having a live in-person January TAMC board meeting. So we'll be doing this at the direction, discussion of the executive committee to be live in January and February in order for us to work out the kinks and hopefully keep our quorum during board meetings and before it's the state law hits in March. So please look forward to the agenda and probably a special email from Eloise with the location for that meeting. And then finally, it's the end of the year, and that's the time that jurisdictions need to get their Measure X annual reports into TAMC. Those are due by December 31st. So kudos to City of Salinas, so the first ones to submit a draft for review. And we appreciate that. And we're happy to answer any questions that city staff have, county staff, but look forward to getting them all in by the deadline of the 31st. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Todd. Well, it sounds like Salinas has laid the gauntlet down. Move on, everyone. Okay, thank you very much for your report. Sorry, I jumped it. Now I will go to number 10 and see if there are any comments or announcements from TAMC members on things that you wish to put on the agenda. And I will go to Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Chair.
Supervisor Lee.
I want to just highlight back with agenda on the consent 3.1.6, which was approved earlier, which is the nomination committee. So myself and the chair. So I just wanted to encourage anyone who is interested in placing themselves on the executive committee. So now would be the time to please send Mary or myself an email with interest. And we'll come back and report to the full board very soon. And just wanted to highlight that did not get lost. So interested members who want to serve on the executive committee, we'd welcome to hear from you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for bringing that up, Ed. Luis.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I just wanted to just say it here. I said it at other places that we want to give a congratulations to our assembly member Robert Rivas, who was who a formal vote was taken on Monday to make him the next speaker designate as of June 30th, 2023. And that hasn't happened in a very long time. And as I know our Madam Chair said that we had a previous speaker from the area, but I looked that up and it wasn't, the last time we've had a speaker from the Monterey Bay area was in 1953. That was James Silliman, who was born in Castroville, but represented and lived and passed away in Salinas. But he was a speaker for only about 15 months. So it was a short period, but that was the last time. So this has been historic to not have the main leader in the state assembly come from our area to be our local state assembly members. So that is a big gain for us, just in terms of some of the things we advocate for and having the next leader of the assembly now be able to help us hopefully on some of the projects we have planned for the coming year. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Lego. Any other comments? I see no hands raised. So thank you very much. We will close item number 10. And now we will go into closed session for item number 11. And because of the nature of the board, we will be able to adjourn the meeting from closed session. So those that are not going into closed session with us do not have to stay on the line. I think I'm correct with that, Todd and Robert. Is that not so?
I'm sorry, Robert, do they need to formally report out after and then close the meeting?
It depends on if any action's taken, which is possible. So we wouldn't be adjourning the meeting until reporting out.
Okay, so everyone has to stay live then. Okay. All right, thank you. I'm not sure who is going to flip the magic switches, but I expect someone will, and we will go into closed session to do the performance evaluation of our executive director, Todd Muck.